Donald Trump has just issued a declaration stating that the United States is at war, and he is claiming wartime powers under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport whoever he wants to deport. Now, the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act that he just made moments ago, where he declares America is currently under invasion and therefore he needs to enact these wartime powers, says that he's only targeting the Tren de Aragua gang from Venezuela. But the implications here are that he can just decide who he thinks belongs to that gang, and then without any oversight, without any constitutional rights, start doing mass deportations, as he has declared a current war, an invasion is taking place, which obviously is not happening right now. Now, the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 has only been invoked 3 times in American history during wars: the War of 1812, World War I, and the attack on Pearl Harbor. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat, says the following about the Alien Enemies Act. He goes, the 1798 Alien Enemies Act allows the president to detain and remove without due process all non-citizens, students, tourists, long-term green card holders, spouses of citizens. It's to be used against citizens of a nation that's at war with the U.S. It is thus a wartime power. That's why it has only been invoked 3 times: the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. It has never been used during peacetime and is not allowed to be used during peacetime. By itself, the invocation is illegal and dangerous. It allows Trump to hunt down non-citizens, many of which have lived here for decades totally legally, and remove them from their families and workplaces for no reason, maybe just because they were critical of Trump. And Trump's explicit purpose to allow him to detain and deport gang members and drug traffickers is bullshit. There's already a law on the books that allows him to do that. He doesn't need a new law. The law says if you are a drug dealer, if you are engaged in crimes, you get the full force of the law. You get deported, you get arrested, you get treated like a terrorist if that's who you are. You don't need the Alien Enemies Act. So, then why is he invoking this 18th century war powers law? Remember, his plan is to destroy our democracy so he can turn our government and your tax dollars over to his billionaire friends like Elon Musk. The slow but steady rollout of war powers. Is the Insurrection Act next? Is he going to start declaring martial law and send the United States military on the people as people start to rise up? It's all part of Donald Trump's attempt to erode our rule of law and take fascist control over our country. Until and before we know it, our entire country could be gone to Donald Trump's authoritarian desires. That's what Trump and these spineless MAGAs want. Look, during the campaign, Donald Trump said that he was going to invoke the Alien Enemies Act. We kept on calling it out. Corporate media wasn't covering it. Let me show you one example during the campaign where Donald Trump did just that. Let's play it.
To expedite removals of Tren de Aragua and other savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you believe that? We couldn't have an act like that now because now everything's woke, you know? We have woke generals like Milley and Mattis. We have woke people. They don't do things like this. So we had to go back.
Now, there's probably dozens. I know there are dozens because I have all of the clips. Let me show you one other time where Donald Trump told the crowd about the Alien Enemies Act that those were the good old days. The good days is when the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 was invoked, when there were tough politicians, he said. He said you couldn't pass something like that today. Here, play this clip.
To expedite removal of the Tren de Aragua and other savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you imagine? Those were the old days when they had tough politicians. I have to go back that long. Think of that, 1798. Oh, it's a powerful act. You couldn't pass something like that today. Today we're politically correct. Today people kill and they end up getting out on bail in 2 minutes. No, this is a little different act. The Aliens Enemy Act 7.
So Donald Trump says you can't pass that today. So he is invoking it via executive order. And the pretext is that he's going after gangs. But in reality, he's going to go after we the people. Most people think. Now, as part of Donald Trump's declaration under the Alien Enemies Act, he says that the gangs are hybrid criminal states, and thus it is actually Venezuela that has declared war on the United States, and thus he says he is a wartime president because of the invasion by the country of Venezuela against the United States via the gang. Just so you can see what the actual Alien Enemies Act says, I think as I talk about it, we should read the code section. 50 U.S. Code Section 21, restraint, regulation, and removal. Whenever there is a declared war between the United States and any foreign nation or government, or any invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation or government, and the president makes a public proclamation of the event, all natives, citizens, denizens, or subjects of the hostile...
White 1. Stay informed, not overwhelmed. Follow credible, nonpartisan news sources to track policies while avoiding sensationalism. Fact-check claims to combat misinformation. 2. Strengthen community ties to build local networks for mutual aid, food shares, child care, to counter instability. Solidarity fosters resilience. 3. Protect civil liberties. Know your rights during protests or encounters with authorities. Support organizations like ACLU fighting legal battles. 4. Safeguard finances. Prepare for economic shifts.
Hostile nation or government being of the age of 14 years and upward, who shall be within the United States and not actually naturalized, shall be liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. So the fact that Donald Trump is saying that Venezuela has declared war via Tren de Agua, he's going to go after the Venezuelans because they are citizens, he's going to say, of Venezuela, regardless of whether or not they're part of the actual gang. And by the way, there were a lot of Venezuelans for Trump. A big contingency of Trump supporters were Venezuelans, especially in southern Florida. It goes on to talk about how the president is authorized in any such event by his proclamation thereof or other public act to direct the conduct to be observed on the part of the United States toward the aliens who become so liable, the matter and degree of the restraint to which they shall be subject, and what cases and upon what security their residence shall be permitted, and to provide for the removal of those who, not being permitted to reside within the United States, refuse or neglect to depart therefrom, and to establish any other regulations which are found necessary in the premises and for the public safety. One of the times that this was invoked was during World War II, where Japanese Americans were placed in concentration camps, and many believe that's what Donald Trump intends to do with Latinos, with Venezuelans, with Cubans, with people who he just views in general as not supportive enough of him, who he calls the enemies from within. Now, this follows Donald Trump shutting down, or the Trump regime shutting down their attempt to house migrants in Guantanamo Bay. From this past week, ICE returns all migrants from Guantanamo stateside facilities. A court filing describes strip searches and the use of restraint chairs on some of the 290 migrants the Trump administration has cycled through the base. This past week, the 40 remaining migrants held at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, were sent back to the United States and are being held in Louisiana, according to 2 U.S. defense officials. As Jen Griffin from Fox even wrote, Gitmo detention plans hit another bump. The administration's decision to take migrants to Gitmo appears to best have been an expensive photo op. Now Fox News has learned all the migrants held at Gitmo have been sent back to the U.S. and plans to send more to the U.S. Naval Station have been put on hold. So what does Donald Trump do because he wasn't able to execute that fascist scheme? He's now invoking the Alien Enemies Act. Just a reminder, this was part of the tens of millions of dollars in propaganda used by the Trump regime about Guantanamo Guantanamo Bay. Here's U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security who killed her dog, Kristi Noem, visiting the Guantanamo Migrant Operations Center at the naval station on Guantanamo Bay, where she lied and said that they were holding high-risk gang members there. It turned out almost everybody there was not a gang member, and that should tell you what the Trump regime intends to do by lying that they're going after gang members in their invocation of the Alien Enemies Act. Here, play this clip.
Hi everybody, I'm down here at Guantanamo Bay, checking out some of the operations that we're standing up to house the worst of the worst and illegal criminals that are in the United States of America. They won't be there for long. We want to thank President Trump for all of his hard work to make America safe again.
I think it's also important that I share with you as well. I want to show you this clip, the Venezuelans for Trump and the Venezuelan community reeling. This is just from a few weeks back, where the Venezuelan community says they feel betrayed as a result of Donald Trump. Here, play the clip.
Conference in Doral Monday, Venezuelan Americans denounced the Trump administration and South Florida Republicans.
More than betrayed, beyond betrayed. They used us. They actually, during the campaign, and I don't want to make this political, but during the campaign, the elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that it was not going to touch the documented people.
Well, folks, that's what we have for now. We will keep you posted every step of the way. Donald Trump invoking the powers of a dictator on this Saturday, March 15th, 2025. The United States of America's democracy is under full assault by the Trump regime. It pains me to have to report this, but we need to fight back. We, the people, need to channel our power and push back against this authoritarianism. Don't miss words. Now's not the time to run away. Be fearless. Stand up to the regime. That's what we're going to do here on the Meidastouch Network with you.